I didn't always care for
Yeah,
myself in that way. And I used to starve myself of food, love,
yeah,
sleep, rest. I had to do more. I had to finish everything. I had to spend, so many hours. I had to be productive. I was very, very hard on myself.
yeah.
And it's only when I suffered like quite severe burnout in
Mm,
my early 30s, it was coupled with the end of a long-term relationship. The health really declined. I was signed off from work. And I remember, the GP was like, you really, really, really
yeah,
must. I'm not going to accept no for an answer. You need 2 weeks in bed,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Hi, you're listening to Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD. Learn to love and care for all your parts from the soles of your feet to your soul. I'm your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham. This is Mighty Maeve. I'm a senior accredited supervisor, senior accredited counsellor, a therapeutic coach where I integrate all my offerings, including psychosynthesis counselling, the trauma-informed therapies, the neurodivergent affirming therapies, AuDHD coaching, yoga, breathwork, meditation, crystals, EFT. I'm a senior yoga teacher and EFT International Advanced EFT practitioner and mentor, and an NLP master practitioner. I'm also the author of 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing, a columnist for Platinum magazine, where I answer readers' questions every month using the Feel, Love, Heal framework that I use in these episodes. So the focus is on self-care, connecting with that highest, wisest, truest part of yourself, and community care, collective care, the Feel, Love, Heal framework. There are new episodes every Tuesday, so you can subscribe wherever you watch or listen. And you can also access older episodes, free resources, more information at soulstosoul.ie/podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to episode 111 of the Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD podcast. Today's guest is Zeenat Ahmed-Peto, and she is a delightful hypnotherapist, cognitive hypnotherapist, and fellow author, and just a gorgeous human being. I met her through Suzy Walker's gorgeous writers group, Heartleap. You can find out more on Substack. And I just love her generous energy and was really excited to interview her for this. So I hope you enjoy the chat and look forward to hearing what you're going to do differently as a result.
So welcome, Zeenat Ahmed-Peto. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I met you through Suzy Walker's Heartleap club on Substack, and we're both members. And I don't make it to as many of the writing hours as I would like to, but I've met you kind of through that online, and it's such a joy to have you here, author and cognitive hypnotherapist. Do you want to say a bit about how you got into it and what you're working on at the moment and the book? And
Absolutely.
also where
Thank
people
you.
can find you, your website and links for the show notes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eve. So I'm a cognitive hypnotherapist, and that's kind of an umbrella term, really, for lots and lots of different holistic practices within that. So there's obviously hypnotherapy, but I'm also an NLP master practitioner. I do EFT and EMDR, and I'm currently training in sound healing as well. And I like to work with crystals and the tarot and so on. So I've got a real spiritual side to me, but there's
Yeah,
also the sort of neuroscience
yeah,
backside with the positive psychology and so on.
yeah,
So, like many therapists, I wear lots of different hats. I came from a teaching background. I used to be a primary school teacher. I still love working with children. So, on occasion, I work with families with children under sort of 12, 7 to 12, I would say, but they're always local because I work with them in person
Yeah.
and I always work with the parents as well. But my main area of expertise is working with sensitive people. Tends to be sensitive female founders. They can be quite ambitious, but they also tend to be real empaths. I also work with very empathic men, professional men, usually midlife, who feel things in a very deep way, and they seem to be attracted to the work that I do, which is wonderful. My book that you mentioned, Eve, is called Too Kind: A Survival Guide for Sensitive Souls, because I really like to help people with people pleasing when they've been doing that for too long and they
Yeah.
just realize that they're not taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So, my website that you mentioned is my name, which is not easy to spell, but it is Zeenat Ahmed-Peto, all one word, .com. And that's where you
Spell
can
that
find.
out. Just, I mean, it will be in the show notes, but just in case people are
Of course,
listening.
if you're listening and you've got a pen with you, that'll be handy. It's phonetic, my name, so it's
Mhm.
Zeenat, Zenat, and then Ahmed, Ahmed, and then Peto, Peto, zenatahmedpeto.com is my website. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
And you were saying, so I got into all of this to save my own life and to heal. Like I had chronic pain condition, endometriosis, and it was training in all the things. And I see, I'm also an NLP master practitioner, EFT advanced practitioner, neuroscience backed with a lot of it. The holistic and crystal therapy. I realized recently I spent longer doing my crystal therapy training in terms of actual contact hours than I did my undergraduate English degree. But
Yeah.
that was the first thing I trained in because hospital prescribed painkillers weren't working on what was then daily pain. And it's like there has to be more to this. So you, I know, had your own journey. You were working on yourself. Would you be happy to say a little bit about that?
Course, of course. So I unfortunately lost my father when I was 19.
I'm sorry.
And at the time, it was, a huge shock. He was a GP and he just suddenly had a huge heart attack. My mum was widowed very young, and I overnight became her sort of companion and her, looking after her and keeping her company and so on, which was wonderful,
Mm.
but it did take its toll on me. And it was only a few years later, went to university, actually studied English and history,
Yeah.
and then became a teacher and was in my first job, which was, your first job, standing up all day, working really hard. It was an inner city London school. It was a
Yeah.
tough gig. And physically, I started to really struggle.
Mm.
And they worked out eventually that I have an autoimmune type of arthritis, psoriatic arthritis.
Mm.
So I've had it now some 30 years. And now, I finally kind of understood how my body
Yeah.
works, which has been a life's work. But what I realized was if my white blood cells were attacking my body, thinking there were foreign bodies there, then maybe I could train my body to heal itself, not just hurt
Yeah.
itself. And so came lots of interest in learning about, how to heal the body, how to understand the emotions and the connection and the healing is, we're not two different parts, we're
No.
many parts all together and they're all connected and so on and so forth. So much of what you speak about, Eve, really resonates with
Mm.
what I've been through myself.
Thank you so much. And I think that it's one of those things like I've talked about self-care for decades, but it's also always felt more like other people don't seem to need it as much as I did.
Mm,
It's not a luxury. It helps me function. And I think with chronic conditions, with pain, and I'm wondering about yourself. So I'm really interested to hear what you're going to say with the framework I talk about. Like, what would be starting with the feel part of the feel, love, heal framework. So the feel part is when you've got the bandwidth, you've got the energy, and you can do something that's going to help you feel better, to help you regulate. What would be your ideal self-care, and what is an essential if perhaps you're traveling or you're really low on energy or in pain. Could you say a little about that?
Absolutely. Something you said there really resonated. I describe myself, not to many people, but to those very close to me, like a very young baby.
Hmm.
That I need regular sleep, I need regular naps, I need regular feeding, and I just need lots and lots and lots of cuddles and care and love. And if I get all of those things, I'm in a brilliant space. So, in terms of what is essential for me, so should
Yeah.
I say the essential part first?
No, go with ideal first.
Ideal.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ideal part for me is waking up and being able to stretch and take my time, not be in any kind of rush, have a lovely cup of tea, have a lovely warm shower, ideally walk somewhere outside in nature, have a wonderful leisurely breakfast, and then, settle down to my day. Um, and ideally, I love to move around in between my sessions of work and take lots of time to stretch and move because for me, sitting still is not good for my condition. So moving as much as possible is always involved. So that's my ideal. And then did you want to know what my essential was like
You've got a good
out of
memory.
that?
Yes. So if you could only do one thing, I always feel evil asking that, but like if you could only do one thing, you only had time or energy, what is your essential? And also, even though I've said if you could only do one thing, as many things as are essential.
I think the first most essential thing is for me sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep for me cures everything.
Hmm.
So, having enough sleep, a good night's sleep is essential. And, for some people, they can't have sleep because it
Yeah.
doesn't come naturally to them.
Yeah.
But I'm, touch wood, I'm naturally good at sleeping. That's something I'm really good at. I don't know how,
Wonderful.
but I just am naturally. But also, sometimes if I wake up and I still feel a bit achy, I know
Mm.
I need some more sleep.
Yeah.
So I can just snooze for an extra half an hour, and that will take that pain away.
Yeah.
In the past, I would have taken painkillers, but it didn't take it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So now I know it's actually my body needs more rest.
Yeah.
And if I can't have it then, I would try and take 40 winks. I've parked up the car on occasion and just sat in a
Yeah.
quiet road and had a sleep,
Yeah.
or just lay down on the sofa for half an hour. And that honestly just takes it away. So sleep is my number one. And you were very generous and said I could have some more. So I would say stretching, definitely stretching as much as possible is essential. And the third one would be walking.
Yeah.
Even if I was in one room, I've been known to look at my how many steps have I done, and I've walked 5,000 steps just walking around the room listening to a podcast
Yeah.
because I couldn't get out that day because the weather
Yeah.
was bad or whatever reason. So I would say they're my essentials.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I love that you're good at sleep. It's been one of my specialisms for a long, long time because I was an insomniac from early childhood until my 20s. But it's one of those things I'm going back to for myself because it is, and I love what you said about going back to sleep. Like often people will be like, they get up early in order to perform self-care practices, whereas sleep is self-care. And my partner regularly pulls over for a nap when he's driving.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's safety as well, isn't it? But I love, there's something so nourishing about that baby you. It's kind of how I developed my polyvagal pairs approach using the cats, the rescue cats, because generally people are so much more compassionate to a kitten or a puppy or a baby or a toddler. And I adore that you're doing that for yourself. So that kind of leads us into the love, the acceptance, the you're perfect as you are, you're part of nature, you're part of the divine. Have you always been able
Oh.
so what helps you connect with that when you are treating yourself as worthy as a beloved baby of that care, that nap time, that feeding, that hugs, all the good things that babies need and adults need as well.
Mm,
What
mm.
helps you get into that state where you allow that?
Absolutely. I think I've always, I didn't always care for
Yeah,
myself in that way. And I used to starve myself of food, love,
yeah,
sleep, rest. I had to do more. I had to finish everything. I had to spend, so many hours. I had to be productive. I was very, very hard on myself.
yeah,
And it's only when I suffered like quite severe burnout in
mm,
my early 30s, it was coupled with the end of a long-term relationship. The health really declined. I was signed off from work. And I remember, the GP was like, you really, really, really
yeah,
must. I'm not going to accept no for an answer. You need 2 weeks in bed,
yeah,
that kind of thing. And that's when my life started to change because
yeah,
I realized that lying in bed and being cared for and everybody kind of coming around, family coming and sort of understanding quite how bad it was.
yeah,
I was so good at hiding it.
yeah,
And I sort of allowed myself to let go and to accept. And the first thing that happened is I got a mouthful of ulcers from the amount of stress I was under.
yeah,
Slowly but surely that was healing and everything was
yeah,
healing. And I realized that this feeling of being comfort under a blanket, under, a sort of heavy duvet, just being warm and cozy and not having to get up and not having to produce things and make things and tidy things and clean things and do work, it was okay. And I think every time I have that feeling of, oh, I'm really a bit tired today, I'm a bit achy, I think I need a
yeah,
bit more rest, and I sort of slide into bed
yeah.
and I get that same feeling that I had, which was the realization that this is what I need. It's
You're
like
worthy.
it's womb like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's you're so kind of worthy, like you say, but sort of connected to
mm,
yourself. And the most simple thing,
yeah,
just being wrapped up and warm
yeah.
is
But
really nourishing.
you say it's simple, and it is, but it's also like it's part of the decolonization work we all have to do on ourselves. Like we used to know that we were connected to our bodies, to nature, to that, like, and it's over centuries of like that separation and that lack of empathy and othering of like even the being productive or the it's like no, even though it's that kind of counterintuitive because rest and sleep makes us more productive, but we're not doing it for that. We're doing it because we deserve like rest and
Box.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if I rest I'll then be able to whatever. And I think especially like working with trauma, working with AuDHD so much, it's so I'm 50 now and it's still such a huge triumph for me when it's like yay nap, or like the yoga nidras even are more productive than a simple nap. um I love what you're saying. I'm getting a bit enthusiastic. um, what about the heal part, the collective
Mm,
care, the co-regulation? I love what you were saying about being able to accept visitors, being able to
mm,
accept your family coming to
help.
loved ones coming
Mm,
to help you. Yeah, a lot of people can't, even when their bodies are trying to force them. What communities do you co-regulate with, both in terms of receiving that care, that collective care, and also giving?
mm. So for me, the giving part's always easier. So I'm always thinking up the next, I'm running a retreat on Friday. There's always the next thing that, oh, this would be lovely, like beautiful place to relax. And it's like, oh, maybe I need that. So I'm very fortunate. I have a lovely family. So I have my own little unit of husband and child, and I also have my birth family and their, partners. So we've got a little unit there, and that's lovely because when I'm with them, I can always completely relax, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
I have a very small, close knit group of friends who go back many, many years. and have like little satellite friends who, when I'm with them, I feel like I'm at home. So I've got these kind of very close friendships, and then I've got lots of like networks of groups of people like the Heartleap,
Yeah,
which I want to be more involved with and want to spend more
yeah,
time there. But they're really lovely groups. Every time I'm there, I feel a sense of community connection. So I'm good at creating that for other people,
yeah,
and I run a business networking group as well, and um, but have sought those places out, and I've got lots of connections locally where they run sound baths or day retreats or just an evening gathering like a moon gathering or
yeah,
something like that. So there's lots of circles at any time. I could find, there's probably 15 on my phone that pinged up during this conversation that I could go and join in with. So I'm very, very fortunate in that way. But I've had to sort of seek those
yeah,
groups out. I've had to find those people
yeah,
because I would say even 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't have those communities.
yeah,
It took going out of my comfort zone, going and meeting people I'd never met before, going and speaking in groups I'd never met before, and just showing up and seeing what happened. And I didn't know that those connections would form, but they have over time. And
yeah.
that trust is built. And I've just joined a book club, which is so exciting. We're meeting next week for the first time. So that's going to be another lovely community where I can just throw myself into a novel and chit chat about it for a few hours, you know.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So thank you very much. If you were to go back, I'm guessing, but it might be different. But if you were to go back with some love, some compassion, some wisdom for a younger version of yourself, what age would it be and what would you be saying and doing?
So she's presenting as a sort of 5, 6 year old. She's in the playground, and there are some bigger girls who are being a bit mean.
Hmm.
They're just kind of teasing and calling names and that kind of thing. And I think what I'm really sending her is a feeling that she can share this,
Yeah,
that it's okay for her to go and tell somebody, that she doesn't have to hold it by herself. And it's okay for her to tell them that that's not okay.
yeah.
And, you know, I think just knowing that it's all right to say what's happening, I think that would be make a huge difference to her.
I was holding my breath when you were saying that. It's so lovely. It's so needed. It's so
Mm.
yeah, it's so heartbreaking to think how much we hold in as small children, protecting
Mm.
the adults around us rather than letting
Mm.
them protect us. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolute pleasure talking to you. Do you want to say again where people can find you online?
Absolutely. So you can find me on my website, which is www.zeenatahmedpeto.com. And I also have a Substack called The Authentic Connection at Substack.
Thanks a million.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Before you get on with something else, I'm going to encourage you to pause for a moment and scan your whole being from the soles of your feet to your soul, the crown of your head, and notice what you're aware of. Notice any physical sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, warmth, tingly, whatever it may be. Just being curious about what you're feeling as you've listened to this episode. Um, Making a note, asking what those sensations might be trying to help you with, what you might benefit from doing for your body right now. Being aware of your thoughts, noticing any feelings that feel more prominent as a result of listening to today, and any intuitions, any insights, anything that you can actually schedule in to ground and improve your life in some way. So let me know how you get on. Make a note, doodle, journal, whatever feels good for you. And thank you for listening. This episode, like all of them, was produced by me, your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham, and I look forward to sharing more next week. You can find out more, access old episodes and free resources and more information at soulstosoulcare.ie/podcast. See you next week.